But the heat will be back in full force. In fact, some of the hottest temperatures we've seen since 2022 are on the way next week. And this is a serious note here because heat is deadly. In fact, it is the #1 weather-related killer. I'll show you 90s for several days next week. 91 on Wednesday or Tuesday, 95 next Wednesday, 96 next Thursday. This is a heat risk from the National Weather Service for next Wednesday. It shows you by category how extreme or how less significant the heat may be. As you can see everywhere across the Northeast, moderate to major to perhaps extreme heat coming down the line next week. So what does that mean specifically for the day on Wednesday? Well, if you're in that moderate category, heat typically just affects individuals that are extremely sensitive to heat, elderly, perhaps asthmatics too. Moderate risk now, heat affects sensitive individuals from the last category, but especially those without effective cooling. So here in New England, we don't have adequate cooling in every single home and every single business or perhaps every single school. Then you up that a category, and this is where a lot of us will be next week. Anyone without effective cooling and hydration, by the way, should take note of how extreme the heat can be, especially outdoor workers who are out for prolonged periods of time. So keep that in mind as you go throughout next week. I know a lot of the schools are perhaps already dismissing for the year, maybe seeing an early dismissal next week for some. I know that we've seen that in years past. 84 degrees today is our high temperature, not as hot as next week, with still plenty of warm. 86 in Lowell, 84 in Franklin. Boston's at 85 tomorrow. Region-wide, we're in the upper 70s to low 80s. Typically, this isn't an issue, but when it comes to another cold front nearing, that heat will be just enough in terms of fuel and enough triggers in the atmosphere to bring on thunderstorms and maybe even severe weather. This is 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. One thing that will perhaps cut away at that heat, clouds that we see come in, that decreases the heat. Rain showers ahead of can also drop the temperatures in the atmosphere and lower the threat. By 6 p.m., we're still looking at widespread showers from Nashua into Worcester. Boston, maybe just light sprinkles here or there in Dedham at 6:30 to 7 o'clock. But the big trend has been to fade away at about 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock tomorrow night. I know if you were watching the broadcast yesterday evening with Sydney and Pete, we were thinking that a tropical disturbance or a disturbance with sort of connections to the tropics would come in. But now the guidance is sort of playing backpedaling, if you will, on that. But still watch the forecast so close. We are likely to have a damaging wind threat tomorrow afternoon with gusts beyond 58 miles an hour, hail and flooding on the lower end of the scale, but still not a zero threat. So a first alert, rather, not a flash flood alert, a first alert for Friday with highs at 85 degrees. Headed into Father's Day weekend, much more calmer, pleasant outdoors for dad if you're doing a barbecue or maybe just leaving dad the heck alone, letting him go play a round or two of golf. Temperatures at 76 degrees on Sunday, and the heat cranks up Tuesday and beyond next week.